Okay, Postmortem. If you've gotten this far, thank you for watching. So the results have come back from the jam, and I did not win a single award. I did do okay. I got like 19th, um, and that's through the community awards, I believe, community vote. Um, Unity's opening. Yeah, and that I think it probably. I mean, there were some good games. There were a lot of well-made games. Some with some interesting mechanics. So I do feel like being in the top 10%. I'm happy with that. I was hoping. I do think I still probably should have probably been in the top three, but I'm also a little bit biased at this point. There are a lot of puzzle games, and I find myself not really. I have a tough time playing puzzle games that have like one mechanic that is kind of like, even if it's really unique, a lot of times it just gets tired really quick, even in like a few minutes. Like, okay, I get it. I have to flip this switch and it flips that switch and it does this, or I have to position these things in this place to do that. But if you do that like 5 or 6 times, I'm kind of over it. I want something completely different. And a lot of the games were like that. I mean, it's a jam. You don't have a lot of time um, to expand on it. That's partly why I avoided that entirely, because I knew it would just be there would be like little to no replay value, and I couldn't expand on it further if I thought it was something good that I liked. But I mean, do I not have the results? Sorry, I'm trying to. Let me pull up my devlog here. Okay, so let's do this. How can I open this? Open in a new tab. There we go. So, yeah. So the judges picked were these games. This game, Project Bloom, actually got third in both. I thought I would get best cover art because I thought my cover art was much better than most, and I was surprised to see that a lot of really pixely. I mean, there wasn't a rule of the jam to also do the 1-bit art style, and a lot of old classic games did not. Like, they had cover art that was way better than the game looked. The first thing that I think of was like Super Mario Brothers. All of those had way better cover art than the game looked. So I didn't really want to stick to that. But yeah, so I wasn't any of these. Kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And then the let's see, let's jump into what it did actually score well on, I guess. Let's pull this up. Okay. In a new tab, in a new window. Let's do this. Okay. So, oh, judges pick, it was number 7. I actually didn't notice that. They did say that there were a bunch that that tied for number 1 in their opinion. So it was. I mean, I'm sure that the way that they broke this down probably boiled down to like entirely subjective reasons. Like, they might be more fans of platformers or puzzle games, or I mean, when I shipped the game to the jam, or when I delivered the game to the jam, it had the development build logo on it, which technically broke the 2-color rule because it has the white in the bottom right corner. So, I mean, I could see that if it boiling down to just something as small as that, But my thoughts otherwise on the jam, I think I've kind of written some down that I think were probably things I could have worked on to make it better. And one of them is that the players, it takes a little bit to realize what the game is. You get about maybe halfway through your playtime before you realize that if you collect enough food, that you'll level up and become this bigger thing. And you don't really understand how important that is until yeah, until it's kind of like the moment you kind of feel like, oh, I have to grow to get bigger, you're kind of like already probably at the first boulder. When I probably should have introduced this growing mechanic slightly earlier, maybe like, you know, 15 or 20% into the playthrough, this sort of growing mechanic thing should have become obvious. Um, because I don't even think now most people probably get to the highest level of the fish, which is like all of its fins are replaced with flower petals. Um, so I probably should have introduced that a little bit earlier. And because I didn't introduce that earlier, I think I probably also um, got people to just not finish it, and they didn't see the animation, they didn't sort of see what this world was like, and the they didn't have enough time in this atmosphere to realize what I was trying to make them experience. So my fault. The other thing is the gameplay score. I think it was, what was my score here? My gameplay score was 28, and I really thought my gameplay score should have been higher. But I think some people really do have a tough time with the different tapping mechanic that I wanted to use. But I just don't think. I think if I made the swimming to just be thumbstick or WASD to move around, it would have completely ruined the experience. You wouldn't feel like a fish at all. You would just be cruising this little blob around, which is boring, honestly. So I don't think I did the wrong move there, but I think there are certain players that are just going to be turned off by that. They want something really familiar, and they probably weren't fans of that. And then also because the the game right now, basically your rewards the entire time is like collecting food. And originally I wanted more than collecting food. I wanted it to be like, you're saving little fish from being like trapped under like fallen debris or something. And about halfway through the jam, I realized there was no way I was going to have time to animate all that and sound design it and prototype it. And so I was like, I just need to stick with making the world interesting to travel through and making sure that the player can actually finish it and progress properly, so they can get to the end and it still feel like they've been on a little adventure. So I kind of cut that out, but that it meant that everything was fish or food. You would get food and you'd break open like these little flower pods underground that just gave you more food, which isn't as interesting as it could have been. Yeah, and then I submitted the development build. I should have started the build. I added some last second stuff. I realized on the last day that it wasn't super. People were having a tough time when they would get to the first boulder. Sometimes they wouldn't realize that they could maybe even move it, or they thought maybe they had to like kind of spam the button to move it like really hard, and that didn't feel good. It just felt like an accident or poor game design, and it was poor game design. So I needed to fix that. So I added the crab character to basically give you a hint if you got that far and you weren't ready that you needed to get stronger somehow, and hopefully the player would make that connection that they needed more food to get bigger and stronger. So I added that like an hour before the jam. And because I did that, I was not making a build. And something's wrong with the Unity 6 web builds. It was so slow. They're very slow, especially the first time. I don't remember having this issue in Unity 2022. They're very slow in Unity 6 right now. Not sure why. But I was looking at like 50 minutes, 52 minutes on the game building to WebGL. It was crazy. So then I just canceled it, and then I made a development build instead. So I had the little development build watermark on the bottom right of the game, which, again, breaks the 2-color rule, but also just makes it look a little bit less polished, which was a bummer. And And I wish I had a little, and then the other thing is, I wish I had allocated a little bit more time to put people in this strange world that I was wanting them to experience. And I added the one character out of necessity, and I'm glad I added him because I feel like he really helped, kind of help guide the player to the right place. But I really wanted a couple more characters, um, to just make the player feel like this is a place they've been in for a little while and that this world is a little bit strange. Because essentially, with this fish, I'm speed running a coming of age story with a fish going from tiny to like this adult fish, flower fish. Um, and I just wasn't telling enough of like how the rules work in this world. And I wish I wanted to put more characters that would just sort of drop little hints about growing up and moving out and, growing too big for the space that you're in, and eventually you need to leave and move on. And I didn't get to that. I wish I had got to that. I think it would have added a lot of value to it. But that was just a planning thing, and then having to like last second spend time building and oh, these build times. And yeah, otherwise, I'm pretty happy with what I did. I think I planned it pretty well. I wouldn't have changed much about my approach to it, I don't think. Otherwise, other than just maybe, swapping an hour here or there to instead of, drawing this particular screen in a prettier way and then having to readjust the colliders on it. I could have instead drawn a character that added a little bit more warmth, and gave a little bit more information to maybe help the player get through it. And maybe want to revisit it. I don't know. But I think overall, these are all kind of in the same space, or about the same range, except for theme. And I think the theme kind of tells the problem. Like, there probably were plenty of people that didn't finish the game, and they couldn't see the theme of blossoming or blooming because they just didn't finish it. They were like, "I'm just eating food. What is this? This is boring." But I did. Macro, the guy that threw the jam, did say something really nice about it being fantastic and perfect as is, which felt nice. It's kind of one of the big reasons I love to do jams, just experimenting and flexing my game design skills and trying to improve them. And yeah, pretty happy with how it went. Otherwise, if anybody that did the jam was a winner, congratulations. I think there were just a lot of polished games. Some of them weren't particularly my kind of game, but they're done well nonetheless. And this is all subjective anyway. I wasn't doing this to only win, so it was just another another jam where I didn't win. But I'm really happy with this one. And thanks for following along with this. Thank you.